What's up, everybody? It's the Halloween tier list, the haunted NFL tiers Halloween edition, week 9. Going into week 9, let's get into it right away. Tier 9, buried alive. These teams are buried alive. There is no hope for these teams. The Panthers, who's even going to play quarterback? I don't know. They only have one win. They beat the Raiders, not a good win. Andy Dalton, broken thumb. Bryce Young, he's no good. Panthers stink. They just traded Deontay Johnson. 31 is the Patriots. I know what you're saying. They just beat the Jets. Why are they not ahead of the Jets? Well, the Jets blew them out the first time they played. And Drake May is hurt. So they play the Titans this week. And I actually think with Drake May, they win that game. They'd be 3-6. But with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, I'm taking the Titans to actually win that game, which is why the Titans, despite being 1-6, I have the Titans ahead of the 2-6 Patriots. All right, next tier. Tier 8, in the graveyard. These teams, they're not buried yet, right? I always don't want to eliminate teams at the very beginning of the season, but we're at the halfway point, man. If you don't start putting together some wins, you're going to be buried sooner than later. These teams are in the graveyard. Number 29, the Raiders. You're 2-6. Gardner Minshew not playing well. He actually did okay against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs, of course, won that game. Number 28, the Giants. Again, where are the wins going to come? I mean, their defense is keeping them out of the grave. Their defense is clawing and scraping and trying to get them out of that grave, but Daniel Jones is like diving into the grave. Daniel Jones, there's a casket for Daniel Jones. They've already bought the casket. So they are in the graveyard. Number 27, the Jaguars. Oh my goodness. The Jaguars are just not a good football team. They tried, they fought against the Packers, but I don't think that's going to be enough. It looks like they're, Lawrence playing a little bit better, but too little, too late. Christian Kirk now, he's out for the season. And I think Doug Peterson, he is going to be buried sooner than later. He's going to lose his job. Number 20, what is this? 26 or 25, excuse me, the Dolphins. Oh no, the Dolphins. What happened to the Dolphins? They were supposed to be good this year, right? I called it that they're going to miss the playoffs, but Tua comes back. You're playing well. You have the lead over Arizona, and what happens? There's a safety, a botched snap. Oh no, it's just terrible. Tua, dude, you're in the graveyard. You got to wear a Guardian cap. I know you don't want to. I know you think you're cool, but you got to play for your health, man. Number 25, the Jets. Oh no, the Jets. What has happened to the Jets? They were 2-1, but they're in the graveyard, and if they don't win on Thursday against Houston, they're going to be fully buried. Now, I actually think the Jets will win tonight on Halloween because the Texans don't have Stephon Diggs. They don't have Nico Collins. They're on the road, short week. I think the Jets are going to shock the Texans and win. But if they lose, they're fully buried. And even if they win, 3-6 is a hard hole to dig yourself out of. We've seen Aaron Rodgers dig out of the graveyard before, but can he do it again? They just got Hassan Riddick back. Maybe that will change things. Number 24, the Saints. Oh no, the Saints, they were 2-0. They were 2-0, but Derek Carr got hurt. They lost. They had to play some good teams, right? The Chiefs, good team, right? The Falcons, the Buccaneers, they start losing these games against teams that are just better than them, and the Saints are officially in the graveyard. Spencer Rattler, he is not playing well. He looks like he's just not ready to be an NFL quarterback, and this is not the same player that was once projected to be the first-round pick at the University of Oklahoma. And then at number 23, somehow at the top of this list, the Browns. Congratulations on the win. They beat the Ravens, but they are still in the graveyard. But they bought themselves at least a couple more weeks of relevancy. Can Jameis Winston do the impossible? Can he lead this team back to relevancy? Can he lead this team back into the playoff picture? I don't know. But at 2-6, they're in the graveyard. The reason they're ahead of all these other teams is because they just beat the Ravens. That's a good win. The Raiders also beat the Ravens, but I don't believe in the Raiders all that much. So that is these, and the Browns also, their other win was against the Jags. So I have to respect a little bit, but I will say, you're telling me, well, the Giants, they beat the Browns, so maybe the Giants should be ahead of the Browns, but that's not how it works. I have to weigh all the odds together, and I think with Jameis, the Browns are better than the Giants. So next tier, tier 7. Cursed teams of the NFC. What am I talking about here? 5 teams. 5 teams that, in the preseason, they were in very different trajectories, but now they're all the same. They're all together. Cursed teams of the NFC. Number 22, the Dallas Cowboys. This is the lowest I have had the Cowboys on the tiers since 2020. We started doing the tiers, Drew and I did, in 2020, and that was the year that Dak got hurt and Andy Dalton was their starter. And that the lowest they got that year was 26. Could we see them get even lower this year? I don't know. They're 3-4. They're not playing well. Dak is not playing well, and he doesn't have the weapons. What is the curse of the Dallas Cowboys? In the offseason, Jerry Jones said he doesn't want to pay Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry said he wants to go to Dallas. Derrick Henry, he has a house in Dallas. He would have been a perfect fit for the culture, the organization. They were losing Tony Pollard. And you know what Jerry Jones said instead? He said, I don't want to pay Derrick Henry. Instead, we're going to bring back Zeke. Yeah, well, the Dallas Cowboys are the worst rushing team in the NFL. They are averaging like 2 yards per rush. It's just terrible. Zeke is doing nothing. Rico Dowdle, terrible. Deuce Vaughn, a bust. I mean, they have no run game at all. And when they don't have a run game, Dak doesn't play well. That's how it works with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, they're suffering from the curse of Derrick Henry. That is why they are a cursed team in the NFC. But we continue. Number 21, the Seahawks. They were 3-0, and I still did not ever put them in the top 20. A lot of people said, Levi, what are you doing? Why aren't you putting the 3-0 Seahawks in the top 20? And I said, they haven't beaten any good teams. Now the Seahawks, to be fair, they do have a couple of good wins, because the Denver win looks a lot better now that they're 5-3, and they also beat the 5-3 Falcons, but they lost to the Giants. That's a rough one. They lost to the 49ers, who I don't think are that good. You'll see them in a little bit here. And I don't know. I do not love where the Seahawks are as a team right now. They're 4-4. They are suffering from the curse of Pete Carroll, because their defense has been atrocious. And Pete Carroll was supposed to be that he was the defensive coach, right? But ever since about 20, you know who else they're suffering from? They're suffering from the curse of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is out there balling out in Pittsburgh, and the Seahawks have to watch Geno Smith. Not that he's been bad, but 7 picks, 8 touchdowns. It's not amazing stuff from Geno Smith right now. And meanwhile, they have to watch their old quarterback just work wonders in Pittsburgh, revitalizing his career. Number 20, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, a couple weeks ago, we had them as a playoff lock. At one point, I had this team as high as number 3. Remember, they beat the Lions and the Commanders. That is 2 of the most impressive wins of the season. I mean, the Commanders and the Lions might be the 2 best teams in the NFC. Tampa Bay beat them both. But Tampa Bay now, they are suffering from the curse of Tom Brady. I think it's pretty clear. They just can't catch a break on the injury front, man. They cannot catch a break. They lose Chris Godwin. They lose Mike Evans. I don't understand how they're supposed to compete without their top 2 weapons. And Godwin might be out for the year, they're saying. Evans is going to be out for a couple more weeks. Now they've lost twice to Atlanta, both 1-score games. It's just brutal. It's brutal. The way to go down to Atlanta twice and lose both of them in 1-score games. I feel bad for the Buccaneers, because I think they're a good team. I think Baker Mayfield is absolutely balling out, but this is the curse. This is the curse of Tom Brady, because he went there, he got them that Super Bowl, and ever since then, they haven't been able to make it back over the hump. They've been a mediocre team since they won that Super Bowl, and they're a mediocre team right now. They're 4-4. They have to play the Chiefs next, and then the Niners, so they could be 4-6 pretty soon. They do still have some games against Carolina, the Saints. They're going to win a few more. They'll probably win 7 or 8, maybe even get to 9 wins. But this is all of a sudden, losing twice to the Falcons really hurts their playoff chances. All right, number 19, the 49ers. What are they suffering from? Well, it's the curse of the Super Bowl losing team, right? They're 4-4. They're average, right? Oh, they can dig themselves out. They might, but they have a tough schedule. And I don't love what the 49ers have done so far this season, to be completely honest. Yeah, they beat the Cowboys. It was a nice win, but I don't believe in the Cowboys. They beat the Seahawks. I don't believe in the Seahawks either. And they have a couple of division losses already. So I actually think the Niners will miss the playoffs. And at number 18, the Cardinals. And you're saying, Levi, why are the Cardinals cursed? The Cardinals are leading their division. They're 4-4, but they're leading their division. They beat the 49ers. They beat the Rams. They crushed the Rams. Remember that? They are on a roll. They beat the Chargers. They're looking good, right? Well, be aware, because the Cardinals are about to suffer from the curse of Call of Duty, right? Kyler Murray, always when that Call of Duty comes out, Kyler Murray, he flounders. He absolutely flounders. So I think the Cardinals might be about to go on a big losing streak. Yes, they're 4-4. Yes, they're winning their division. I don't see how this team wins the division, though, the way the Rams look. I think the Rams, this is that division is the Rams division, but we'll get to that in just a second. Tier 6, zombie teams back from the dead. Number 17, the Bengals. 3-5, and I'm saying, well, they just lost. They lost a game, but I still think the Bengals are going to contend for the playoffs. Now, I have said up through the first 7 weeks, I thought the Bengals were a playoff team. Even when they were 3-4, I had them as a playoff team. Even when they were 1-4, I had them as a playoff team. This is the first week that I'm going to sit here and say, I no longer think this is a playoff team. I still think they can win 8, maybe even 9 games, but that loss to Philadelphia really hurts because, A, it shows me they're not as good as we think. Because they didn't just lose to Philadelphia. They got crushed by Philadelphia. It was like 37-17. It was not a good game. And B, with the Ravens coming up soon, they're going to be 4-6. So they really had to, I think, be above 500 when they played the Ravens week 11. That's not going to be the case anymore. So for Cincinnati, still think they're good. I do think they're back from the dead. Don't think they're a playoff team anymore. Number 16, the Rams. The Rams, zombie team, back from the dead. They were 1-4. Now they're 3-4. They have to go to Seattle on Sunday. I think the Rams will split with Seattle this year. I kind of think Seattle will win the first game. So we'll see. I have the Rams ahead of them now. Depending on how that game against the Seahawks goes, that's going to really alter my perception of the NFC. But I think if the Rams played in LA, they'd beat Seattle. I think in Seattle, it's a lot closer. But they're back from the dead. They're back from the dead. Puka's back. He's healthy, right? Cooper Kupp is healthy. Stafford all of a sudden looks a lot better, and no wonder. People call me crazy. You need to have weapons to succeed as a quarterback. Like Brock Purdy apparently he sucks because he can't win a game against the Chiefs when he's missing Debo, Ayuk, and McCaffrey. Sure, right? Look at Matthew Stafford. Without Cooper Kupp, his stats are atrociously bad. With Cooper Kupp, he's an MVP candidate. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how much weapons changes a quarterback's career. It really does. Colts at 15. Look, they're back from the dead. What do I mean by back from the dead? Well, they're back from the dead because they now have an actual good quarterback, right? Anthony Richardson was not good. He was the worst starter in the NFL. And I say that. This is not me saying that. This is the quarterback index. Also, by the way, passer rating, qualified passer rating, lowest in the league. He just hasn't been good. He's like a 44% completion percentage, worst of all time for qualified passers. Richardson is a bust. And you know, maybe it's too early to say that. He's only started 10 games. Trey Lance only got 5 games. So if people think it's unfair for Richardson to get benched after 10 games, then where is the complaints about Trey Lance only getting 5 games? Because when Trey Lance got traded and became a backup after 5 starts, nobody complained. But Anthony Richardson gets benched for a clearly better quarterback in Joe Flacco. Everyone's up in arms about it. Sorry, Flacco's better. And he is going to get this team to the playoffs. Officially, I believe the Colts are a playoff team. And then finally at number 14, back from the dead, Denver. They started 0-2 and they looked awful in their first 2 games. But what happened? The Denver Broncos have won 5 of their last 6. They are right there in the playoff mix as well. If the Colts don't get in, it's going to be because the Broncos do get in. Bo Nix, wow, he looks good. All of a sudden, the Broncos are a real football team. They are back from the dead. Tier 5, witching our woes. These 4 teams, I think they can make the playoffs, but I still have some doubts about them. Number 13, man, the Chargers, a lot of close games. They almost beat the Cardinals, but they've struggled a little bit in some of these close games. They feel like they just are missing something, and they feel like a team that in the witching hour, right? What do we call it? The witching hour, the fourth quarter. You watch in Red Zone, it's the witching hour where wins become losses, losses become wins. I worry that some of the Chargers games, sometimes when they play, there's like, yeah, they're going to win this game. And then all of a sudden in the witching hour, they make a mistake. Maybe Herbert makes a mistake or the defense lets up. And all of a sudden, a win for them turns into a loss. Number 12, the Eagles. The Eagles, witching hour woes. What do you mean, Levi? They just won a huge game. I still don't trust the Eagles in ending of game situations because of Nick Sirianni. Situationally, he's not a good head coach. He will turn wins into losses by mismanaging the clock or calling to go for it on fourth down when you shouldn't. We saw it against Atlanta earlier in the season. I mean, if they win that game, they're 6-1, but instead they're 5-2. I worry about Sirianni end of game management. So witching hour woes for the Eagles. I think that's going to come back to bite them. The Steelers, witching hour woes. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is I think the Steelers have gotten a little bit lucky. And in this case, I'm not talking about the end of the game. I'm talking about the end of the season. Because the Steelers have had a super easy schedule. They're 6-2. They're looking good, right? Russell Wilson, he's back. He's playing well. Let Russ cook and all that. But the second half of their schedule is really hard. They have to play the Ravens twice. They have to play the Bengals twice. They have to play the Browns, who all of a sudden have some life, twice. They have a lot of tough games in their division. They also have to play the Chiefs still. They have to play Denver, who looks really good, right? So all of a sudden, we're seeing Pittsburgh. Are they in for a bit of a rough landing? Witching hour woes. Could the end of the season be the witching hour to the Steelers? I think they make the playoffs, but I think they're not going to be as good as they are right now. And finally, the Bears. The Bears, witching hour woes, man. I still have them at number 10. I still really like the Chicago Bears. They're 4-3. I think they're the best 4-win team in football right now. But the Bears, when they had that win, they had it in the bag against Washington, and what happened? A witching hour woes. I mean, that's the definition of a witching hour woe. They just, a Hail Mary on the last play of the game. You hate to see it for the Bears, but I still like the Bears at 4-3. Tier 4, haunted by his past. Okay, let me explain. Number 9, I have the Vikings, and the Vikings are a tough team for me to rank because they have beaten the Texans and the Packers, who obviously I both have ahead of the Vikings. So it's like, why aren't the Vikings ahead of the Texans and Packers? Well, it's because I'm starting to see Sam Darnold go into pumpkin mode, right? Sam Darnold, I don't think he's as good as the numbers were in the first 4 weeks. I think we're starting to see him show some signs of weakness. So Sam Darnold not playing as well. They lost to the Rams. They're going to still make the playoffs. They're going to be okay, but I don't think they win the division anymore. I think they're going to be the 6th seed. And you're like, well, how? Right? Well, the Lions are going to win that division. And I think the Packers, I know the Vikings beat the Packers, but I think the Packers are better. That was a close game in Green Bay, but I think the Packers are going to go into Minnesota and get revenge when they play next. So I actually like the Packers to be the 5 seed. That means the Vikings are going to be the 6th seed. So who are they going to play? As the 6th seed, they're going to have to go on the road. Well, it's not going to be the Lions because the Lions are going to get the bye. And it's not going to be anyone from the East because I think the Commanders and Eagles, whoever wins that division will be the 2 seed. I also don't think it's going to be anyone from the West because I think the Rams or the Cardinals or the Niners, whoever wins that, they're going to be the 4 seed. So they're going to play the 3 seed, which is going to be the winner of the South, which is going to be dun, 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 haunted by his past. Kirk Cousins. This is my projected playoff game in the NFC wildcard round. Vikings against Atlanta. Vikings are going to be asking themselves this question. Would we be better off if we had kept Kirk Cousins? Should we have just paid him the money and kept him around? Or did we make the right choice to go to Darnold and then eventually McCarthy? Meanwhile, Kirk on the other side, he's thinking the same thing. He's like, did I make the right choice to leave Minnesota? Should I have stayed there? Or did I make the right call to come to Atlanta? Well, they're going to play each other in the wild card round. It's going to be a great game, and I think the Falcons will win that game. They are my number 8 team, just barely over the Vikings at 9. Next tier, Phantom Super Bowl teams. What do I mean by this? Look, all of these teams have Super Bowl hopes, but they are all have at least one reason why they are not going to make it. Let's start. The Bills. The Bills, Super Bowl hopes. I have number 7, 6-2, but this is the same Bills team we've seen every year. Every year we try to hype up the Bills, and every year it's the same story with them. They beat up on all the bad teams. They beat up on their division because their division sucks. they can't beat good teams. They lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Texans. They're going to lose to the Chiefs. They're going to lose to probably the Steelers. And then they're going to go and, they're probably going to make the playoffs. They'll probably win their wild card game. And that'll be that. You know what? That'll be that with them. So that's the Bills. That's where I have the Bills right now. Number 6, Washington Phantom Super Bowl team. Look, as much as I love Washington, no rookie quarterback has ever made the Super Bowl. I don't think Washington is going to be the first. So Jaden Daniels, great season. I think they could make it as far as the NFC Championship game, especially if they get the number 2 seed, if they win the division. I think they probably split with Philly, probably split with Dallas as well. But I think they can win that division. And then I think they'll either will lose to Green Bay or they will lose to Detroit, I think, in the playoffs. Number 5, Baltimore. Look, Baltimore, not as good of a record, right? The Bills are 6-2. The Commanders are also 6-2, but Baltimore at 5-3 beat both of them. The problem for Baltimore, kind of the same problem as the Bills. Baltimore has a kryptonite, and that is the Chiefs. So no matter what the Baltimore Ravens do in the regular season, they could win out. They could go 14-3. I would still not believe in them to win the Super Bowl because they have a kryptonite, and then his name is Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, the Houston Texans. I do think they're better than Baltimore. I know that, so they're 6-2. I'm projecting them to lose their next game. It's really tough for them without Stephon Diggs is now out for the season. Nico Collins. It really sucks for the Texans, honestly, that they're losing so many players. I still really like CJ Stroud. I think that MVP race between Allen, Lamar, Stroud, Jaden Daniels, I could have renamed this tier MVP candidates, really. I mean, these might be the 4 MVP candidates. The only guy who's not, number 3, Green Bay. I think Green Bay is the 3rd best team in football. At 6-2, they've won 4 games in a row. And the Packers are on an absolute roll right now. They're on an absolute roll. They've won 5 in a row. They were 1-2. They've won 5 in a row. And I think they're going to beat Detroit next week. And then I think Detroit will get revenge on Thanksgiving. So last year, remember, Detroit blew out the Packers the first time they played. And then the Packers blew them out on Thanksgiving. I actually think the opposite happens this year. I think the Packers are going to beat Detroit, and next week we're going to be asking, are the Packers the best team in the NFC? And then I think Detroit will get revenge on Thanksgiving. So it's kind of the opposite. So even when the Packers win this week, even if they do, I'm going to keep Detroit ahead of them, unless the Packers just absolutely dismantle them, which maybe they will. But either way, love playing really well, and the Packers are a good football team at 6-2. All right, tier 2. This is a 1-team tier. How many tricks up their sleeves? You love the graphic, right? The little kids in their costumes. How many tricks up their sleeves, dude? The Lions just keep running trick play after trick play. They've got so many tricks. We've now seen Jared Goff catch a touchdown pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown. We've also seen David Montgomery throw a touchdown pass to Sam Laporta. So we're seeing all these trick plays and these fun things. They're going for it on 4th downs. They're running out fake punts. They're running out fake field goals, onside kicks. I mean, the Lions have so many tricks up their sleeves, and it's very clear what they're doing. They're trying to be the Chiefs of the NFC. They are trying to be able to beat remember the Tom Brady and the Patriots had that dynasty going in New England. Who beat them? It was the Eagles. And how the Eagles beat them? It was because they had all these trick plays, right? The Philly special. Remember, Nick Foles beat a dynasty in the Super Bowl, and a lot of that was because the Eagles had that dynamic playbook full of tricks. The Lions are trying to do the same thing. They say, how are we going to take down Mahomes? We got to give him a taste of his own medicine. A bunch of trick plays, a bunch of fun things. They got a bag of tricks, but how many tricks up their sleeves? Is it enough to get them past the Chiefs? I don't think so, because tier number 1, they've put a spell on the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs have put a spell on this league. Even when they play bad, they win. I mean, there's no denying the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the league. No, it doesn't matter if Mahomes throws 3 interceptions. They're going to find a way to win. It doesn't matter if Travis Kelce only touches the ball twice. They're going to find a way to win. It doesn't matter if they lose Rashee Rice and Mecole Hardman and Marquise Brown. They're going to find a way to win. It doesn't matter if their newest receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, is not even like half as good as he used to be. They're going to find a way to win. Isaiah Pacheco, no problem. Here's Kareem Hunt. They're going to find a way to win no matter what they do. That's why the Kansas City Chiefs are number 1, because they have put a spell in the NFL at 7-0, undefeated. Could they go undefeated all season? I don't think so, but we'll see. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're number 1 at this point. But thank you guys for watching the Halloween edition of the NFL tier list. Make sure you all like, subscribe, follow for more amazing content.